Title: Static Shock. In a quiet town, nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, lived a teenage girl named Mia. With an insatiable love for horror movies, she spent her weekends binge-watching terrifying films in her dimly lit basement, clutching her popcorn like a lifeline. Her favorite series featured masked maniacs, sinister spirits, and heart-pounding suspense. Little did she know, this weekend would be unlike any other. It began innocently enough when Mia uncovered an old, dusty VHS tape buried deep in a box of forgotten memories. The label read simply, "The Night of the Terror." Excited by her find, she dusted off her ancient VCR, set up the screen, and prepared for a night of chills. As the opening credits flickered to life, a strange pulse seemed to emanate from the screen. The sound was loud and unsteady, like distant thunder. Mia shrugged it off, attributing it to the old machine's quirks. As the movie progressed, Mia found herself drawn into the film's surreal world. The antagonist, a twisted shadow of a man in a tattered mask known as the Revenant, moved with a grace that made her shiver. He stalked victims through dimly lit landscapes, always waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Mia's heart raced. Her love for horror was being put to the ultimate test. Suddenly, the screen flickered violently, and a sharp crackle filled the air. The static intensified, and before she could react, the lights in the basement dimmed. A piercing chill enveloped her, and the room vibrated as if caught in an earthquake. She clutched the arms of her chair, her breath hitching in her throat. Then, with an eruption of sparks, the bulb above her blinked out completely. Darkness swallowed her, and she could hear the eerie whispers of characters that were never meant to escape the confines of their stories. A whir of movement caught her attention, and she turned her head toward the screen where the Revenant had lurked just moments before. A figure began to seep from the screen. Panic surged through Mia as his silhouettes materialized, growing larger and more defined. The Revenant, with hollow eyes and a sadistic grin, stepped onto the carpet of her basement as if it were his rightful stage. Following him, characters from other horror flicks, relentless killers and restless spirits, crawled forth, each more gruesome than the last. Chucky's maniacal laughter echoed, while the Babadook's shadow stretched across the walls. Mia's heart raced. She was living the very nightmares she cherished. With an instinctual desire to escape, she bolted toward the stairs, but the figures surged forward, their intentions clear. They were no longer confined to the screen. They craved her fear and flesh. "Join us," the Revenant hissed, his voice coiling like smoke. "Your screams shall be our entertainment." Frantic thoughts raced through Mia's mind. There was no way they could be real, not here, in her home. But the reality of their presence bore down on her like weighty chains. Too stunned to scream, she fumbled for her phone, hoping that maybe, just maybe, the digital world could save her. The static from her VCR hummed like a heartbeat behind her. With desperation, Mia remembered something she had seen in a documentary about horror movies. If you spoke to them and maintained your composure, you could turn their power against them. Taking a deep breath, she placed herself in front of the Revenant, staring him down. "You're just a movie character," she shouted, her voice echoing bravely into the dark. "You're nothing without your script." The Revenant faltered, shadows of confusion flickering across his brow. The other characters paused, uncertainty rippling in their malevolent ranks. "You want to play a game?" she continued, shifting her stance. "Then let's do this by my rules. I'm the director now. You won't get me without a fight." Fueled by her defiance, Mia pressed the play button on her VCR, the movie resuming its ominous soundtrack. As the film rolled, she wove a web of creativity. She imagined scenarios in which she could outsmart them, footage playbacks, clever traps, and strategies. The shadows shifted, their bodies distorting as they began to lose their grip on reality. One by one, the figures from her nightmares started to dissolve, sucked back into the static of the screen. Mia felt empowered, in control. She wouldn't let them take her. The Revenant wailed, a sound that echoed with both rage and fear. "Stop, you can't." With a final surge of energy, she focused, channeling all her creativity into the battle. The shadows shrank, flickering like dying flames. In a final scream of despair, the Revenant was drawn back into the glowing screen just as the characters before him followed suit. With a blinding flash, the basement fell silent. Mia stood panting, facing the now flickering screen. The light dimmed, leaving only the soft hum of the VCR. She approached it slowly, the pulse of adrenaline still coursing through her veins. As she sat in the aftermath, Mia could hardly believe what had transpired. Her love for horror had transcended fiction, proven to be both a weapon and a curse. She learned the hard way that the line between fear and reality could be brutally thin. She had emerged victorious but felt haunted by her brush with the unknown. As she turned to leave, Mia's eyes caught a glimmer of her reflection in the dark glass. There, lurking in the corner, was a flicker of movement, just a shadow, but she swore it grinned back at her, hinting that maybe, just maybe, the terror would return one day. The horror of it all lingered, a reminiscent static that wouldn't quite fade.